historian.
Hello, America. He's back. Who's back? I'm back. Hey everybody, Steve the Amateur Historian. How y'all doing today? I am out, and it's beautiful around me right now. It's late August. Usually it's just a sweltering hellhole in Portland by this time, but we're having a succession of days where the temperature's hovering around 80, and I'm not going to complain about that one bit. Got me a fresh shower, fresh out of bed. Everything is fresh deodorant, mildly fresh mindset. Let's go out there and see some stuff. My plan is, so I want to get a little bit north, so I'm planning on wrapping up through here, cutting through the Mall 205 parking lot and all that, getting across the freeway, and then really starting my journey. Oh, they really thinned out my route here because they're building an expansion on the hospital over here. Yeah, I think the people who lived here probably made out pretty good. There was two really beat up, shitty houses over here. And, you know, one day I was just walking down the street and all of a sudden those houses were gone. And considering the state of those houses, I'm guessing whoever lived in them either didn't have a lot of money or just didn't really care. But I'm guessing they got a pretty decent payout for their homes to take the money and get the hell out, so that they could take over all this land and build an expansion on the hospital. Right on the other side of these trees are a bunch of hospital buildings, so makes sense. I'm just hoping I don't encounter any loons along this stretch, because I'm kind of constricted right now. This doesn't bode well. I don't even know if I've walked a mile and my legs are already tired. I mean, that was the first solid walk I've done in a while. It was yesterday, so I'm not exactly surprised. I was expecting to be achy, but I don't like it. Coming to the freeway! I got through most of the bad stuff. The freeway, the excessive commerce. I still got a little bit to get through. I got to get to the other side of all this stuff. So I'm going to cut through, and then once I get residential, hopefully I can snag this off for a spell. Get out of my face. Stupid bees thinking they own me. What do we got here? We got ourselves another. Every time I see a mailbox now, I get excited. Yep, only picking up at 10 a.m. Side street. Actually really close to where my grandma used to live. And here we approach Burnside. Looks like there's some, I thought it was chalk, but it looks like it's actually, no, that's somebody's driveway. Never mind, that's right. This is like, this road kind of ends, but you have to kind of wrap around to actually get to Burnside. It's like, what is all this writing in the street? Probably construction stuff for later. And as I've said numerous times, if you don't know the Portland area, Burnside, this crossing street right down here, is the bisector between the north and south parts of the city. So since we're on the east side of Portland, I'm currently in southeast Portland. Once I cross the street, I'm in northeast Portland. And what do you know? Another mattress. Ooh, that's a goodie. Oh man, this car's was now, was it in this state of disrepair when it first became available for sale? If so, I guess I understand why it's for sale. What is this? The Columbia Christian School, home of the Knights. I always knew there was something over here. The Christian school. So busted out my GoPro because I'm traveling with both, because you never know when my phone ain't gonna have enough battery. And got to 90th and Burnside, and it reminded me of something I remembered, which is that there's it's a bird. Hell, we're cast fighting. There's a small cemetery up here. The Bernhardt Cemetery, Breinhardt, something like that. I'll know when I see the sign. But yeah, it's right up here at I think it's near 90th and Gleason, which is right up here. So I kind of just, you know, obviously I don't want to go to a big, massive cemetery and end up spending, you know, hours there looking and walking. Not that that's the worst thing in the world to do, but I know this is a smaller one, so I kind of want to give it a little walkthrough and just check it out. And one thing on the side is, you know, with all these, you know, historic murders of Portland episodes and all these stories like that I've covered, you know, I know the names of a lot of people who died a long time ago in Portland. So I almost wonder if, like, at a given cemetery I go to, am I going to randomly stumble onto the grave sites of some of these people that I've actually done videos about? It's entirely possible. I feel like most of my cases happen a lot further west of here, but you never know. So it's kind of a double-pronged approach. Get to walk through a cemetery and get to see if maybe I recognize a name. Yeah, here it is. And I would think it's open. These aren't exactly massive gathering spots, and it's really small. I'm just making sure that, you know, I'm cool to come in here. Cemetery parking only. Yeah, this looks like the main entrance right here, so unless there's something that says, you know, I really don't see why a cemetery would be closed, but you always check. If it's closed, it's closed, you know. Here comes that breeze. High fire danger. Cemetery. Okay, nothing. Just the general COVID sign. Keep yourself clean. So I still don't remember exactly what the name of this cemetery is, but yeah, it's just a beautiful, I mean, look, it's just this little tiny thing on the edge of, this is Gleason Street, or Glisten. I hate people that call it Glisten. Even if it's right, I don't care. So yeah, I'll just do a little walkthrough here. Okay, I wasn't expecting this. Tragically, a lot of these are damaged, or like they're just so worn down by the years that you can't even read them anymore. And then I stumbled onto this. This is the gravesite of Bertie Morton, who died October 21st, 1892. Bertie Morton was actually the victim in a video I did, one of my Historic Murders of Portland episodes. I did an episode called, I think it was like The Killer Who Traveled the World. It was about a guy named Burdett Wolfe, who became obsessed with this young woman, Bertie Morton, who, again, she had just turned 17. Her birthday is October 9th, born 1875, and she died October 21st, 1892, so she was 17 years and about 12 days old. And like so many cases, Burdett Wolfe became obsessed with her and showed up at her house one night after she was having a dinner with family and shot her on the street up in Montevilla. So little ways this direction, but not too far. They lived kind of near Mount Tabor at a time when there was a lot less housing up there. And yeah, Burdett Wolfe killed Bertie Morton. This says Mary Morton, and died like 2 years later. But she was 94, so I'm guessing she was probably Bertie's grandmother, possibly. I was not expecting to actually find the grave of someone I was just going to kind of do a circle through. You know, because a lot of these, you know, I don't have time to go to the grave sites of all these people that I do these videos on. And a lot of times I don't even know where they're buried. Some of them grew up in other states and get relocated, but I already found one and I'm only like on my second row. Brainerd Cemetery, established 1897. So this is an old one. This is established 1860s. Established only 12 years after Portland officially became a city. Yeah, it's a lot of these graves, I can't even read them. They're either so buried in the ground, or like the etchings are just completely worn away. Yeah, so this Burdett Wolfe guy, you know, another creeper who became obsessed with a girl who wasn't even an adult yet. Granted, 1892, you know, 17 years old was considered more adult than most circumstances. But yeah, he bailed and ran for it, and as far as I could see in my research, he was never apprehended, but he apparently had been living in South America. He was seen in, I think, India, and he somehow, I'm pretty sure, got away with it, because I found a lot of articles about them saying they think they found Burdett Wolf, they think they found Burdett Wolf, and then there'd be no follow-up. And newspapers, especially back in that day, were really good at following up on things. So I think he got away with it, you know? Even articles 18, 19, 20 years down the road, still no real resolution. Yeah, so in the end, Bertie Morton way over there is the only one that I recognized. But yeah, it's a cute little site. I can walk on out here. This way, opposite way that I came, and venture back to the streets. Oh, for those Simpsons fans out there, because you know Matt Groening, the creator of It's From Portland, there's a lot of Portlandisms in it. I'm currently at, I don't know where you can see it, but this is located, I'm at 89th and Flanders, and in case you're curious, yes, Ned Flanders is named after Flanders Street, which is right here, and looking pretty beat up on the east side of town. This is roadway not improved. And I just realized kind of generally where I am. I hope this is 87th I'm coming down to. I think it is. Recent fresh paved job. Yes, this is 87th. Good, because I want to turn and go one block up this way, because this was kind of unexpected. The last film that I did a film, I originally called it You Make Me Smile, then I changed the title to Till I Found You, even though IMDb won't fix the credits yet. And my sound person let me use her house for the interiors. She no longer lives there, but yeah, half the movie was shot in her house, which is good because the lead character's home. She's kind of a, lives on her own, independent, no family or kids. So I wanted her to either have an apartment or a small house. And yeah, so we filmed right here. And she moved a couple months after we filmed here. But yeah, we filmed my lead character walking down these streets. Filmed her walking out of the house to her car, which is about where this blue truck is. But yeah, this is the house right here that we filmed in. It's wild to see it, knowing I'm not actually going to the house. I remember filming here. It was stressful. We had 2 days to film like 37 pages in here. And but it was a good setup. It was a good house. It was kind of perfect for what we were going for. It's, as you can see, it's a fairly tiny house. It was just a really convenient setup, and I remember having to walk this stretch of road, lugging all my film gear down 87th here. The house is at 87th and Everett. And yeah, I just remember being so elated when we got that last shot done, because those last 2 days were murder. You try doing 37 pages of a script with about 24 to 26 hours to work with. It's not an easy feat. Just crossed Burnside going south again, so while I went from southeast Portland to northeast Portland, I've now jumped back across from northeast Portland to southeast Portland. Hallelujah. My mouth is free to breathe in God. Are these bees? Oh my God. No. Oh man, that's like a big bee's nest. I'm out. I was like, what are all these bugs? Not their bees. They didn't chase me, are they? Yeah. Whew. That threw me. That tree had a hole in it, and there were like bees by the bushel. I got goosebumps from that. You ain't attacking me today. Alright, so I'm trying to make my way south to 84th. I don't know if this will get me far enough. Oh yeah, this goes for a while. I can see 82nd all the way down there. I just want to walk this way because, as I mentioned earlier, my grandma used to live in this area. I'm pretty sure she lived in the house that I'm going to pass by when I was born. I could be wrong. I don't remember her living anywhere else, so she at least has been living, or was living, in this house no later than the late 80s. Yeah, I think the last time I visited this house was probably 2007, 2008. probably about 2008. Maybe there was a 2009 visit. I haven't been here since, well, I stopped seeing my dad, and by that point we were doing most family gatherings at other places, but here it is. Oh my god, they have a Black Lives Matter sign. That is so pertinent. That's so great that there's a Black Lives Matter sign up in their window, because my grandma wasn't super conservative, but she was fairly conservative. We were all kind of Bush supporters for the most part back in the day. Certainly not me anymore, but a lot of my dad's side of the family is very conservative, unfortunately. You know, they're family. I still love them, but their political perspectives are just... So I think it's so great. I think about all the pro-Republican, pro-Bush conversations we'd have in the backyard, thinking we knew what we were talking about. And now the people living there got a big Black Lives Matter sign in their window. Oh, thank you. That's just a beautiful piece of irony. Oh, and of course, while I'm near the vicinity of my grandma's house, another landmark of a depressing sort. Talked about this, of course there's a homeless guy right in front of the house, but I talked about this place in the video I did on the Coin Tower hostage crisis. It happened back in the mid-90s. The guy that did it lived in this house. This blue house over here with the homeless guy in front of it. I don't know where you can see it. I don't want to video it too much with this guy right in front of it, but yeah, the guy that did the hostage takeover lived in this house. And as I tell in the video, the reason I know the guy lived in this house right here is because I met him there. My dad had a friend, he went by Brian and he went by Keith. I think his real name was Brian. Kind of a weirdo. I remember him preparing. He was staying with us for a little while, probably because his deadbeat ass couldn't figure out his life. He was just one of those kind of guys, and I remember him making dinner, and I was sick. I don't usually eat when I'm sick. It's a fairly normal thing. And he asked me if I wanted some of the food he was making, and I said no thanks. And he got all, ooh, look at that. Anyway, he got all offended, like threw his food down and was like, "You don't trust me, do you?" I'm like a 9-10-year-old kid. And he just started getting mad at me. And just kept saying it over and over, "I can't believe you don't trust me." And I'm like, "Well, you're kind of a weirdo." So I'm surprised my parents even left me home alone with that guy. Anyway, he was living in that house with, I always mess up the guy's last name. I think his name was James Rinker. And they were roommates there. I remember, because I went over there with my dad in the spring of 1995 because we watched Michael Jordan's comeback game at that house. And I remember the dude sitting in a recliner, just kind of just slumped. Didn't really say anything. He just looked pissed. He looked like he was just unhappy being there. And this is like this is about 9.5 months before he went into downtown, snuck in through the underground parking garage, and stormed the Coin Tower in Portland with, you know, all of his weaponry. And it was a big hostage standoff. Fortunately, he eventually gave up. But yeah, we were, you know, watching, you know, everybody was watching it. I'm surprised it's such a forgotten story in Portland now, considering it only happened like less than 25 years ago. And we're watching the news stuff, and I don't remember, I want to say it was even my mom that first noticed it, like, "Isn't that Brian's friend?" And my dad was like, "Oh, shit." So that was when we realized who it was. So yeah, I actually met the Coin Tower hostage taker who took a bunch of people hostage there back. It was like the start of the year. It was only a couple days out into 1996. Again, I did a video on my channel called The Coin Tower Hostage Crisis, where I go in depth into all this. That's on my channel, so if you want to get that, go check out that video on my channel. I wish it had more views, because it's a really crazy story that I had this small little personal connection to. So yeah, so that was the house where we watched Michael Jordan's comeback game, and I remember being kind of weirded out by the guy because he just kind of sat there in his chair, just didn't say hi to us. Even when my dad's friend tried to introduce him, he was just like, and I remember, especially as a kid, when you see an adult that's that disconnected, you're kind of like, oh, aight. Oh, and there's, this is the Vestal School over here. Really beautiful old school building. Anyway, that's there. Yeah, but apparently, if I'm remembering my story right, because I haven't really looked at the details since I did that video, and I did that video like over 2 years ago, I think. Or at least 2 years ago. But I think James Rinker was working for like UPS or something like that. He was a package deliverer. And, you know, Coin Tower has a lot of swanky businesses, and a lot of the upper floors are condos, so you got a lot of, you know, bougie-ish people. And he claimed that women that worked there would make like merciless fun of him, and that was like one of the things that set him off. And he was like, I'm gonna come back with my gun and I'm gonna show them how to respect me, or something like that. Just freaking weirdo. Seriously. Oh man, I wonder if I'm gonna find any of those "Have you seen this man in your sleep" posters in Portland. Apparently they made a revival not too long ago. Oh god. So I was thinking about cutting through. Can I still cut through this park? I mean, I don't really want to. There's a lot of people here, but it's old Montevilla Park. My grandma used to take me here sometimes. So I really don't want to go to 82nd. So yeah, I'm gonna cross the busy street here and cut through the park. It's nice to get into the shade a little bit. So yeah, like there's parts of the park that are closed. Obvious places that suggest gathering together are closed, but this area is still open. I'm surprised how green the grass is. Then again, they probably have a maintenance and ongoing sprinkler system and such. And ooh, something happened here. Big chunk of nice breeze came through. So that looks like that just snapped right off. Yeah. I don't want to keep staying this close to 82nd. 82nd just screams COVID, even though 82nd has actually been considered kind of a dividing line for where COVID happens the most and where it happens the least. My zip code's actually one of the few zip codes that's predominantly east of 82nd that has a really low COVID count. I think even now we're probably only at about 110 total cases in our zip code. And mind you, you know, 40, 50 of those are people that got it like 2 months ago. I think somebody's sleeping under a blanket over here. Actually, looks like there's no ball game today. But yeah, so 82nd has actually been kind of considered the dividing line. There's much, much fewer cases west of 82nd than east of 82nd. Of course, all the poor people live east of 82nd. Not to knock myself down a peg, since I live, you know, like 26, 27 blocks east, but again, in an area that's had a lot less COVID than other places. And, you know, I mean, it makes sense. The place where the most financially stricken people live are the places that have the most COVID cases. Are we shocked? On top of that, I think the zip code directly east of ours and one that's directly southeast of ours both have like the most COVID cases, I think, in the East Portland area. Like both of them are probably above 600 cases now in each. But I know one of them. I think but maybe both of them. I know at least one of them had a really bad breakout at like a retirement home. Like there was one retirement home where I want to say there was almost like 150 cases that sparked up. So that you know, explains part of the high numbers. What the hell? What are these guys cackling about? Whoa! A dragonfly almost took my arm off. So you know, it's no but it's still no shocker. There'd still be like 450, 500 cases in those zip codes. You know, the more rundown parts of town, there's a reason. I haven't seen every episode of Portlandia, and I enjoy Portlandia to a point, but there's a reason why, at least as far as I've seen, they don't do an episode that takes place at a location further east than 60th. That's for a reason, because the show's supposed to show you the fun, oddball, quirky elements of Portland, not the people that are flat broke, higher crime, higher this, higher that, higher COVID town. They don't want you to see this part of Portland. They want you to see the fun. They want you to see the Buckman neighborhood. They want you to see Irvington. They want you to see the Hawthorne area. They want you to see the Belmont area. And this just leads me to, oh, never mind, there's a way out over here. You know, they want you to see downtown. They want you to see Southwest. They don't want you to see this part of the city, because this is the part of the city that's a little bit rough around the edges. Yeah, I want to get off 82nd. I don't want to be anywhere near 82nd. I'm pretty sure the concrete at my feet creates its own COVID, if you know what I mean. Yeah, also the freeway, Jesus. Yeah, the freeway crossing is right up here, and it gets a little bit sketchy up there. Ooh, Hawker's Locker. I always wondered where this place was. I'm pretty sure this is the, if the guy that stole my DSLR camera a couple of years ago, he said he was going to pawn it, if there's any place he actually did pawn it, it probably would have been here. Okay. Getting off 82nd. Whew. I'm getting hot. So on fire, feeling hot, hot, hot. Hot. Oh my God. Of course, I do that. I start acting like a lunatic, and I turn and look, and there's a guy standing in his driveway looking at me like I'm a crackhead. That's how it always happens, though. So, the rare Portland palm. I love seeing random palm trees in the Portland area. They're so rare because, you know, it's not even remotely the right climate. Yeah, something I wish I was seeing a little bit more of, and of course it's understandable because I haven't been in like the most Portlandy of neighborhoods, but I want to see like some more of the random sightings that I saw yesterday, just random stuff at the side of the road. There's a really great Facebook, I believe it's a group as opposed to a page. It might be a page, but I'm pretty sure it's a group, and it's called Hidden Portland for the Curious. If you look up Hidden Portland for the Curious on Facebook, and the whole objective of the page is, you know, because Portland's known as the place that, you know, keeps it weird, people are always putting interesting things out in front of their houses. People will put random items next to something at a certain street corner, and they're these little things that just, you're walking along and all of a sudden you're like, well, what's that? That's random. And people will take pictures of all these things and post them on there, so you get to see all these interesting things that kind of pop up in the city. Yeah, again, it's called Hidden Portland for the Curious. If you want to see some interesting imagery, get a feel for Portland, that's probably the way to go, or at least a starting point. And those are the kind of things I want to see more of. But again, you see a lot more of that stuff west of here, where Portland gets more Portlandy. Except we got a smart car here with bumper stickers all over it. That's a start. Yeah, I know a lot of these streets just end because, well, the freeway and the railroad and Max lines all kind of go through here. So I'm literally kind of painting myself into a corner right now, because this all just kind of forces me to wrap back around. But just taking a quick glance, because I've never really been this way, as I try to slip my mask back on, because you never know what kind of people you're going to encounter in areas like this where you're down by the railroad and I keep calling it the railroad, just Max tracks, train tracks, and the freeway. You never know what kind of people you're going to bump into in this kind of an environment. Yeah, so we've got I-84 up here, and then if you look far enough down, you can kind of see traffic up there. That's I-205, and these two kind of converge together, so you can't get through anywhere here. I'm gonna have to start going back south from here, but not too bad. I'm almost to the freeway. Climbing up the hill, gonna find out what's at the top of the hill. Got some stuff here. Yeah, where am I? I really don't know exactly where this is gonna be. Which street am I even on? I really don't know. I just turned when I thought there's a dead end ahead of me if I keep walking towards the freeway. There's some big building up here. Skate church. This is like the Church of Skaters. We teach the religion of Tony Hawk and nothing else. Gleason. Oh, I'm back up. There's the, yeah, came full circle. There's the cemetery right up there. So I'm on 90th-ish. Really did come full circle. But yeah, I'm gonna have about 5 billion ounces of water the moment I get through my front door. That's the thing. If you're one of those people that like knows you need to drink your water and you struggle with it, you keep forgetting or whatever, the moment you get really thirsty, get the biggest glass you can find, fill it with water and chug it, because when you're dying of thirst, you're gonna want to chug whatever you have in your hand. It could be a bottle of vodka, and you're not gonna do it because you wouldn't like it, but you're still gonna want to chug it. Oh God, vodka sounds horrible right now. Hell yes. Yeah, that's the stuff they don't tell you about. Try to tell you that all these Black Lives Matter protests, that it's just a bunch of out-of-towners, a small vocal minority. Nobody in the city of Portland really supports those protests, and yet probably 1 out of every 6-7 houses I see has a Black Lives Matter sign. So yeah, you tell me what's real. I'm gonna go this way. 94th Avenue, branching off Burnside, the new type of littering. I'm seeing discarded face masks all over the place during these excursions.
You have a cigarette?
No, sorry.
That's all right.
This guy back there, you know, I had my mask on. I made sure to sway away from him so we weren't too close to each other, because he was obviously homeless, didn't have a mask on, so you just be safe. And he asked me if I had a cigarette, and I was like, no, sorry, man. And he was like, it's okay, you're still my friend. I love those kinds of exchanges, because you never have exchanges like that with people who are just going about their everyday life and not really struggling through strife and frustrating circumstances. You're already homeless, now you're homeless during COVID. And, you know, I have these random encounters like that with people that are homeless and struggling. And they'll always say randomly the nicest things ever. And I know some of it's a manipulation, but some of it's just genuine, you know? There we go, that's how you do it. I ain't touching that button.
I-205.
And another video I did a while back was about the Willamette Stone, which is way off in the West Hills, and then the mile markers. They strung a bunch of mile markers up from pretty much the Willamette River going east, and most of these markers are still around because they put them along Stark here, because Stark was originally considered kind of the middle road in town, and now it's more Burnside. But I know one of the markers is next to the Elmer's restaurant here. But yeah, if you want to go back and see that video, I visit the Willamette Stone and also visit most of the markers still standing. Not every single one of them. I think there was supposed to be 15 in total, and 9 are still standing. Some either got destroyed. I know at least one or two of them have been stolen at some point or another. I want to say the marker is right here. Yeah. I don't remember which marker it is. This is... It says P6. I think that's a 6. Which means we're roughly 6 miles from the Willamette River in downtown back that way. And roughly every 21 blocks you'll see another one of those, assuming it's not one of the 6 that's gone. So there, I'm giving you lots of references back to videos I posted a while ago, because if you're new to my channel or someone new to my channel, you'd have to dig a little ways back into my catalog to find some of these. But yeah, you know, I went by the house where the coin tower hostage taker, well, at least was living for a period of time. And again, I have a whole video on that called Coin Tower Hostage Crisis. I have a whole video on those mile markers. I think it's called like the Willamette Stone and historic mile markers, or I forget exactly what the mile markers had a specific name. But, well, Stark used to have a specific name. And for some reason it's escaping me right now. Dead ahead here, this is the Burger King, the more or less Mall 205 Burger King right up here. It's, you know, a shithole like most Burger Kings these days, but there was, and I'm going to do a video on this at some point, but there was a very famous murder case back in the early 90s of these 3 women that worked at a service station way east of here. And this guy that used to work there, Tyron Thies, I think was how his name was pronounced. He and his 2 accomplices, one of which was his cousin, they robbed the place, and they both used to work there. And the claim has always been that Tyron went in there and killed these women who used to work with by himself. And again, Tyrone and his cousin used to work for this company, this, it was called Leathers. And he got busted for stealing some money and ultimately decided to just leave the place. And when both he and his cousin left, who were involved in this horrible murder, they both were working at that Burger King. When, at the time that these murders took place, that's where they were working. And see, this is another thing, you know, as I'm contemplating my future travels and trying to go somewhere, I forget these scooters are still out and about. I can use one of these scooters and get somewhere a lot faster. I gotta look up the rules and stuff though a little bit more. I don't really know. I gotta look that up before I just start going out there wily coyote and just trying to just get my hands on a scooter and just go for it. But if I can bum one of those, I can explore the places further away and not just like bust up my dogs. There's the old Village Inn. Closed down forever. Somebody managed to get in there and tag the place, because of course every place like this has to get tagged at some point or another. But yeah, there's the classic kind of upside down trapezoid orange sign with the black kind of old school typeface. Village Inn. Or Denny's. Denny's works too. Yeah, I'm kind of taking the back wraparound way to get home. I'm actually going to be walking by the police precinct, the East Precinct, the one that garnered so much news recently. And of course I did a couple videos kind of viewing the situation from a distance. And yeah, the spread of the protests that led over there. So I'm going to be walking right by it. Fiducial. I'm cutting through your fiducial parking lot. Anything crazy going on up here? Nope, looks pretty chill. Granted, you know, the big protests, I believe, unless I'm missing a day, we're only here for 2 nights. And it's the 22nd today, so it's been like 2.5 weeks roughly since those protests happened. Yeah, here's the precinct, still boarded up. It's where those 2 days of protesting occurred. And They usually have an officer parked right over here watching over the building. Park the police. I wish I could share that sentiment, but I really can't. Yeah, so this is the front entrance that, you know, some of the protesters tried to break in at. And a bunch of pro-police rhetoric, which I wish I could support. You know, I wish I could say, ah, thank God the cops are out there keeping everyone safe. But, you know, some of them are, but most of them either are crooked or don't do anything to stop the crookedness. And that makes you complicit, unfortunately. Yeah, so there's like kind of one guy back there staging his own one-man like support crew for the police. You know, again, I'd like to be in full support of the police. I'd like to know that their actions are always just and proper, but we find that to be wrong over and over again. And if you can't see that, well, then you're just not paying attention. You know, if there's a broke person, a person of color that you know is someone's called the police on them, boom, they're there. You know, any chance to mess up someone of color. Sorry, that's been vindicated time and time again in our society. I'm not speaking out of line whatsoever. And, you know, when it comes to everything else, they don't give a shit. You know, when I got my DSLR camera stolen by a druggie at gunpoint, I called the police, you know, because you're supposed to file a police report. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're legally supposed to file a police report when an illegal action is committed against you. I had to do it when my car got broken into like 12 years ago. So I do what I'm legally supposed to do. Call the police. It takes the guy almost an hour to show up, even though I work near Eastport Plaza and there's police around there all the time. And then he has the nerve to give me a bunch of crap about why I didn't call them quicker. Pretty much, you know, I walked away from the guy with the gun and I waited till I was a ways away from the guy because I didn't want the guy to see me pulling my phone out. So he'd come after me, possibly. So, you know, I waited until I got away from the guy before I called him. The guy takes an hour to show up and then gives me shit about not getting to him sooner. It's like, well, what difference does it make? You didn't care to show up in a timely manner. And the guy was a total dick. Like, acted like I was wasting his time, acted like I was inconveniencing his day by doing what I'm legally supposed to do. And just, you know, and then, like, after I told him, like, hey, a guy, like, pulled a gun on me and said, give me your camera. And he was like, why'd you give him your camera? He wasn't going to shoot you. Fucking idiot. And then he was just like, okay. When he was done taking my information, he was like, so what do you expect to happen? Like, really snobbish. Like, okay, this happened. What do you want me to do about it? And I'm like, I'm just filing a police report like I'm supposed to. And mind you, that's a passive shitty experience with a police officer. You know, at least I didn't have an officer show up, slam me to the ground, beat me up, shoot at me for walking down the street, like certain people whose color don't happen to match my own. So, you know, how do you expect my perspective to be on the police when they behave like shit all the time? They completely, day after day, mishandle the protests downtown. They mishandle practically everything. You know, the moment they have a chance to say, oh, somebody did something, so I'm going to tase them, or I'm going to spray them right in the face with pepper spray, they'll do it, you know? Whatever the police say goes. Police officer says you did this and that, you take them to court, judge is going to automatically believe the police. You know, why do you think there's such an effort made to, like, try to keep police officers from having to wear body cams? If you got nothing to hide, then why are you fighting so hard to get rid of those? The only reason you would be fighting to get rid of those is if you want to be able to engage in stuff that if it's caught on camera, you're going to be in a shitload of trouble. I don't know how this vlog became so angry. I just walked by the police, you know, the police station there, and I saw all the, like, oh, we love the police, you never do anything wrong. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the ignorance, you know? It's a bunch of middle-aged, old white people who've never had to deal with police brutality, and so they think it doesn't exist. If they've never had to experience it, it doesn't exist. That's their attitude. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm like 3 houses away from my home, and I'm hot and I'm sweaty, and maybe that's why I'm getting moody. Anyway, that's it for today's therapy session. It ended with a lot of rage. But anyway, thanks so much for coming along with me on this trek. I know these videos aren't always the most entertaining. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. You know, it's just a matter of just whatever happens, happens. But yeah, as always, guys, remember to like, share, subscribe. Hit up my Patreon if you want to help me out that way. Any way you want to follow me. And until next time, this has been Steve, the Amateur Historian.